Hello, welcome to Model Kit Stuff. My name is Jason. It's First Impressions Day today and we're looking at this. This is the brand new tool and newly released 1:24 scale Messerschmitt BF109 G-5/G-6 from Airfix. This is going to be a big one. It's the super kit. It's £100 worth of model kit. Let's take a good look. Right, I suppose what we should say before we go any further is I have purchased this kit. So this has not been given to me. I'm aware that some channels have been given a kit. Airfix don't usually do that. They have done with this one. They have given the kits out to some channels. I am not one of them. I have pre-ordered this from the website and it's been delivered to me through the normal process. So I'm entitled to say anything I like about this. I've always got an attitude of be honest. You know, if it's good, it's good. If it's bad, it's bad. Just be honest, then no one can criticize you either way. So I've not really looked through this. I've had a quick shuffle through it. So you're gonna see it for the first time with me properly. So let's get stuck in. So if you've not seen one of my videos before, we do this in detail. You're welcome to fast forward past any bits that you're not interested in. We will look at packaging, we will then do the instructions, we will then look at the sprues. There'll be some close-up photographs at the end before I do a summary on my thoughts of the kit. I have reviewed hundreds of kits over the 5 years I've had the channel, and I've had even more hundreds of kits through my hands over the 50 plus years that I've been building models. So I do like to think that I can talk with a little bit of knowledge about this. Right then, so here we are, the Airfix brand new 109. I have opened the box, I have had a quick look through, but this is, I've not looked closely at it, so this is a proper first impressions. And we're gonna start with the packaging, and we have to start with the artwork, which is really, really nice. It harks back to when I was a kid in the 70s, when a lot of the time you got a bit of action, and you know, it was the artwork that often drew you into the model. And we've got 109s being engaged by Spitfires with flying fortresses in the background, one of which has been taken out, and you know, it's just an all-action scene, and it drags you in and it builds the excitement before you even open the box. So that's really, really nice. We've got a quick kit number of A17003. Tells us that it's 1:24 scale, so it's a big old bird. As a look at the sides of the box, yeah, they pretty much emulate the top, only the artwork is different. I want to show you the artwork. The artwork is pretty cool. Yeah. Then on the side of the box we've got some CAD images and some cautions, and if we have a look here, it tells us that it's a 2025 tooling and scheme, that it's made in India, that we've got cartograph decals. And then if we look at this side of the box, we've got a bit of history. We've got our paint options. So what we've got, 5 different paint options. We've got the list of Humbrol paints that will be called out through the build. It tells us that it's a skill level 4, using a system I've not seen before. So we've got this little sort of temperature gauge here, and this is red hot, skill level 4. So pretty cool. I like that actually. And then we've got 4 flying hours on there, which if you're a model Airfix club member, you can trade in to get free kits. Right then, let's continue with the packaging. What we've got is a flimsy lid, and I mean a very flimsy lid. So be careful if you're putting that in your stash. I mean, this looks okay on the outside. There's a little bit of damage on the inside. It's, you know, this isn't going to protect your kit for long-term storage, so just be very, very careful of it. The bottom of the box is corrugated, and it's double folded on the sides, which gives it a little bit of rigidity, but it's still, you know, whilst it should be okay, you still need to be a little bit careful if you're storing it. Now, as you can see, the kit is the box is absolutely rammed with the kit, and in one respect that's good because you've not got too much movement, but actually in another respect it's caused me a lot of problems. So what we've got all of these parts in massive bags. I mean, I've cut huge amounts off this, but you can see we've got these massive bags, and then we've got all this extra packaging that's flapping about, and that's then being folded down. So actually, when I cut the tape off the lid popped up because everything's been pressed down. Because actually, as you can see, naturally it wants to sit proud, and that's without the instructions, which were on the bottom. And the instruction book was actually laid like this on the bottom with the masks and then the decals. And what's happened is that's been pressed down by the box lid. That's then pressed onto the instructions. In the right light, you can see little impressions on the instructions from the kit parts, and then that has pressed down onto the decals, and I have all sorts of damage on my decals. Firstly, the decal sheet is much bigger than the instructions, so we've got folds on this corner here and on this corner here, which has caused damage, and then I've got impressions pushing down into my decals there, and actually the decals are damaged on that one there. I mean, I want to use the German version. That's damaged. That's damaged. I think that is about it. Yeah, so packaging is not particularly great. It's nowhere near as good as it was on the 124 Spitfire. I thought that was particularly well packaged. But you know what? All they needed to have done is exactly what they did, but turn it that way around, and then you wouldn't have had that. I mean, it's a simple thing. Most of those decals will be usable, but it's needless damage through the way they've packaged it. And actually the instruction book, the front page is ripped off in the box, because the other thing that I've noted is that on the top you had the big sprues that are the width of the box, and underneath you have the smaller sprues that can actually move around. So yeah, if there was less plastic packaging, you wouldn't have had that pressure on the decals and they would have survived better. But I think you'd have still got the folds and creases. So that's my first observation. The packaging could be better. Airfix have done their own packaging better than this in the past. So yeah, okay. So that's that. Now let's have a look at the instructions. So our instructions are coming in a combination of a full colour stapled build manual, a decal sheet and separate paint sheets. So we've got a little bit to go through. We'll go through the actual build instruction manual first, and it looks lovely. You've got that artwork from the side of the box on first. Tells us to clean our parts. I still question why they put it on the front page, because it's not actually part of the instructions. That, for me, that little banner should be, when we get to it, there's a lot of stuff to get through before we actually get to it. It should be there with this note. It should be there. Now wash your parts. Now do step 1. That, for me, that's where it should be. I say this every time I review an Airfix kit. They don't listen to me, so if I'm the only one saying it, I don't see them changing it particularly. But there you go. We do have some nice artwork on the front though. Then when we turn over, we've got a bit of history, bit of specification, normal Airfix format. Some comments on assembly instructions, which I've not read them, but usually says read them, read the instructions. Then we've got the assembly icons. I don't see anything particularly different. I'm just going to flick forward and hope that perfect with through look. Page 17, yeah. So they've got green areas here, which they're asking you to do something. You'll also see that we've got red areas, and in the key they tell us what a red area is, but they're still not telling us what a green area is. Don't know. Again, I've been mentioning this in my Airfix reviews for a little bit of time now, and they continue to use colours in the instructions and only list one of them in the key. Seems odd. Either list none of them or all of them. Again, it's a minor thing. It's just one of those little things that irritates me. I don't know why. That said, I don't see any changes to the usual assembly icons. Okay. We're on page 4 now, and we've got some scheme histories, which is interesting. That might help you select the particular paint scheme you want to check. It's not going to make any difference to me. I'm going to go purely for what I like the look of aesthetically. But this is a German aircraft, so I want to do German. I quite like the idea of having some yellow on it, so yeah, I don't know. This one looks quite nice with a little purple stripe on it, and the yellow tail, but the camouflage I don't like quite as much as the more typical German camouflage. So I think I'm probably going scheme A, which is early 43, so I'm guessing an early version of the G's. So yeah, there we go. So this will be a March 1943 airframe that I will build. Okay, then we've got cowling interior colours, which is really nice because there is some complexity to that, so that's very good. It's grey and a sort of matte green grey type colour. Yeah, okay. Yeah, I mean, you need to read all this, not just flick through it like I'm doing. And then it says it's most important that you read the whole instructions carefully and choose the decal scheme and all the options that you wish to build into the model before you start construction. I completely agree. And then you can go through the instructions and cross out the bits that aren't relevant. It makes it a lot easier to navigate through the instructions as you're building, rather than constantly cross-referencing. So yeah, so you're going to have to decide whether you want bits open or closed, what paint scheme you're doing. The paint scheme will dictate options as you go through the instructions. So yeah, good bit of advice, some nice imagery there to help you with that thought process. Then we've got a page called Engine Decals. I've not seen this from Airfix before. It's very Zukimura-esque. You've got this lovely colour picture of the engine there. It's got things telling you what they are. I mean, I wouldn't know what most of this was without this. Am I personally interested? Not especially. What I'm looking for is detail and level of detail. What this tells me is that not only have we got the detail, they understand it. They understand what these are, and therefore they've done their research. So that gives me trust that we've got a well-researched kit. So yeah, I mean, I will read it. It is interesting. It will educate me because I don't know much. We've then got some specifications about this. What is it? A Daimler-Benz engine. So yeah, it certainly looks very involved. Let's hope that the plastic parts build up to look closely like that. Right, okay, then we're over onto page 8 and we start construction. Then it says, when build this model with the engine cowlings open, follow steps 1 to 60 on page 8 to 12, which is where we are. When building this model with the engine cowls closed, miss out steps 1 to 60. Therefore, if you're having the engine cowls closed, you're not having the engine on display. So I guess we'll be able to build it up and maybe have it on display next to it, or something like that, if you're doing like a museum display, that type of thing. Okay, so as I look at this, we're starting with the main engine lump and putting the piston castings on, and yeah, all the standard stuff all goes together. It's broken down into nice, simple, almost part by part steps. The red indicates the last thing you did, so you've got a sort of a reference to where you are. So I've just put that part on there, for I must have turned the part around, that sort of stuff. I like it. Airfix have done this for a while. I think it's a particularly good way of working. This, whilst it looks busy, actually is very easy to navigate and flows really well. This is step 6, this is step 7. It works very well. It's not like you've got these artistic arrows generally pointing you in the direction of the step down there, but then there's another bit you should have done first that's up here, and all of that arty farty stuff that you get in some instructions. This is pure technical. You do this, then you do this, then you do this, and the paint instructions are included. So you do this, you're painting it that, you do this, you're painting it that. It's really clear. It's exactly what I need from a build manual, because that's what it is. It's not supposed to be winning awards for art presentation. It's about technically getting you where you need to be. I love it. I think it's really well done. So we're then putting smaller parts and details, and we've got pipe work. So that all looks very nice. That's going to really raise the detail on here. I mean, it's a big scale engine, so you would expect that. You expect layers of parts going on to build up intricacy. So yeah, that all looks really nice, doesn't it? Then we carry on, more parts. I mean, there's tons of pipe work and stuff going on. So yeah, we keep building up the engine. I mean, we're at step 49 and we haven't got off the engine yet. Yeah, all looks really good. It's just this engine's going to be awesome. Look at how much information, how many parts. It's just huge. It's absolutely huge. Now, you know, we're on there's been some options in here, but I'm just gonna count this up. This is looking like we're back to the start again here. So it looks like 60 steps, and some of these steps have multiple parts. So there's easily over 60 parts in the engine alone. So fabulous. Looks like we're using a little jig here to allow us to sand away something. So the green means remove. So we've got green and purple and red being used, but only red is referred to on the key. It's a bit annoying, that. Because if they just put that in the key, green means remove, purple means part to be used as a jig, not to be included in the build, then you'd be really clear on what this is as soon as you see it, rather than having to think about it. I don't know, maybe I should be thinking. Right, okay, engine to one side. Then we're on cockpit detail. And again, we've got, well, only one version that's late, which is paint option D. The rest of them are on this early cockpit. which is good because the paint scheme I wanted has got the more attractive cockpit of the two. We've got, again, a little bit of an explanation about what the parts are. So that's really cool. I mean, it's helpful and it's interesting, but magneto switch, I don't know what a magneto is, so it doesn't really make any difference to me. But I know lots of people have said that they like to understand what the parts are. Yeah, it's not a biggie for me, but it looks really nice. They've done a really nice job of the imagery, gives you a really clear view, especially all this pipe work here. I don't know whether it's electrical, it looks like copper pipe, but I'm guessing it's electrical. Conduit, we've got hose and all that sort of stuff. Lots of decals being called out. It's really clear where they go, so that's very nice. Again, very Zukimura-esque. I love that. Okay, then we go to what I guess is the start of the cockpit at step 87. Yeah, so we've got some form of harness going into that, whatever that is. Maybe it'll become clear as we build it up. Looks like the floor pan. We've got the pedal linkage there, pedals going on separately. Yeah, we've got an option there for 2 different types of pedal by the look of it. Then we've got okay, so this is the bottom section of the seat harness, which is inside the parachute bin. So the parachute will be strapped to the pilot, and when he sits down, it sort of forms the seat. The parachute and the seat cushion are sort of one, so that's strapped to the pilot. He sits down in that bucket which cradles the parachute, and then that's his lap belt. I'm guessing he's got shoulder belts as well. Yeah, so we've got the control stick going in, all sorts of other bits. At this point we've got options for canopy open, canopy closed. We have to make some adjustment to the canopy, so you've got to cut something out regardless of whether you're having the canopy open and closed. Seems a little odd. You just cut more of it if you're having the canopy closed. Okay. Closed canopy only D. Right, so if you do, okay, I misunderstood. You've got to trim a bit off if you're having the canopy closed, and if you're having the canopy closed on option D, you need to extend the amount you're trimming. Right, that's all clear. We've got some drilling to do. Then we put in the inside elements of the fuselage, building up some detail with chain and hand wheel and various control sticks and things. A lot of mechanical control of the aircraft, of course. Yeah, okay, and then it's good thick paper, so I'm just making sure I don't turn 2 pages at once, but I was. There we go. Cockpit base going into the fuselage half. Then we've got some work to do if we're having the cockpit open, just to allow for location studs. Then we've got the upper frame of the cockpit there going in, and more separate plastic straps. Be interested to see what they look like. Same as we've done again, but rather than just doing it on one instruction and then saying do the same on the other side, they've shown you. I like that. It's really clear. Yeah, these are great instructions, really good instructions. See page 15 for decals, so it's referring you back to what you've already done. Yeah, so that box isn't too cramped with instructions. So again, that's okay. Okay, more pipe work going in. We're putting the dials and bits and pieces together. We've got some separate handles and switches to go in, and then that's being installed. Little back piece there, little bulkhead, which has some form of hatch and locked strap on it. Okay, again, different options. Oh, you can have an option to have it open. Okay, interesting. Oh, I might do that. I like a bit of animation. Right, then we've got bottom wing assembly. So we've got a wing strut section. We're doing some painting and putting the bottom part of the wings in. No, it's not. We used to get oh, that might be right, okay, that's upper wings, so that's why that's been painted, because you're going to see that from underneath. Right, I'd assumed it was lower wings, it's upper wings I think. So we're gluing that in, more supports going in, lots of detail, cannons going in. We've got separate little supports going in there for the landing gear, so that should be nicely detailed as a result. More bulkheads and bits and pieces. They've given us a template for this part, so you get it aligned right. So that's really interesting. They obviously thought there was a risk that you might not get it right, even with the fork style location pins. Then we've got open slats, slats open, refer to page, slats retracted. See, I wouldn't know whether you have them open or retracted in the air and on ground. I wouldn't know. So it'd be handy if they said for parked, slats open, whatever. I'm guessing they're retracted when they're closed, but that's a guess. I'm gonna have to do some research because I don't know, and I don't think the kit comes with a figure. So anyway, I'll work that out come the time. Then we've got some drilling to do, depending on whether we're putting these little underwing cannons on. I think that's what they are. Then we've got the underwing part going on. Yeah. Okay, building up the air intake radiators. They look like they're going to be nice. Got some lovely little details there. Yeah, which includes the little indicator pin that tells the pilot the position of them. I think that's what that is. So yeah, it tells the pilot visually that the radiator flap is open. It pushes up. It's the same. They do it with the landing gear on some aircraft as well. They have a little pin that comes up through the wing to tell them. Okay, so we're building up all these slats, flaps, whatever they are. All very nice. A little bit of trimming of that'll be the sprue gates on the top, so that they're not on the surfaces, so they're just showing you've got to remove that. Again, that's nice for some of the younger builders that might not have come across that before. Then you've got retracted wing flaps, lowered wing flaps. Again, I wouldn't know which way around to do that. More flaps going in, let's not labour on that. Seems to be a lot of flapping about. Cool. And lots of detail going in. We've got different options here on whatever that is. No idea. Then you've got different options whether you've got cowling open and closed for that, which mounts on the front there. It looks really detailed with again with wiring, pipe work and bits and pieces. Okay, so then we're either putting in the no engine version, which has got some basic bits just to hold things rigid, and if you can see through various gaps and stuff like that, I don't know, see through there, I don't know, they've put in what's necessary, or you've got the full fat engine that's going to be visible. Whichever way you go in, it mounts on the same way. Okay, and then there's some notes to make sure you've got it all connected correctly, which is really cool. Armament detail, and we've got another one of these colour CAD pictures. This is really nice. More of this Airfix. I am absolutely loving that. Yeah, that looks very nice. So it looks like we've got an option to have the access panel open for the underwing cannons, so that's nice. Then we've got nose cannons going on. Yeah, lots of little parts, ammunition, feed. Yeah, all very nice. And then we've got a little panel at the bottom there that goes in separately. Cool. Another radiator being built. Then we've got the engine, bottom section of the engine cowl going on, showing you what that should look like if you're having it open, which I think I probably will. Then we're doing the landing gear, which they seem to have done hollow. I wonder if that's to allow you to put a brass rod in or something for strength. Interesting. Tail wheel, which is separate, which is really nice. 2 halves to the wheel. Shame the hubs aren't separate to the tyres. That would have made painting a little easier. I mean, not too difficult to do. We may have masks, I don't know. Okay, and then, separate hubs on the main wheels underneath the wings there. So, yeah, and they are weighted. Looks like we might even have sidewall writing because it says Continental on them. I doubt they put it in the instructions and not on the plastic parts. So that's exciting. Separate hoods will make it easier for painting, so I really like that. Looks like we've got some variation of the tyre depending on which version of the aircraft you're doing. Yeah, and then do we have a wing up option? When filling the oil cooler. I don't know that we've got an option for the wheels up. No, I think you have to build it with the wheels down. I don't know. Yeah, I mean, they usually put a little silhouette, wheels, gear up or gear down, and they haven't done that. So I think your only option is wheels down, which, I mean, I would build it that way naturally myself, but not everyone's going to want to do that, surely. Okay, that's very interesting. I'm not sure about that. Drop tank being built up, lots of separate parts on there, looks really detailed, gives you a little reference picture so you know you've mounted it properly. More little details going on the wings, heaven knows what they are. Then we're building up the cannons that we saw a little bit earlier. They are handed, port and starboard. Yeah, okay. Looks like you're cutting that up if you're sealing it up, or if you're going to have it open, which I probably will, you'll leave it on as part of the hinge. Okay, then doing the other side, mounting them on the wings. Then you've got engine cowling. Again, not quite sure why we're duplicating that, but there must be a reason. Then we've got the air filter being built up. That's not on all of them, so A and B. Okay, right, where are we now? Step 249, by the way. Then we're putting in the cowls in the open position, which I think a lot of people will do. Then we've got it in the closed position. Some more little bits for the cockpit at the last minute. Then we're working on the cowling. Yeah, okay. That all looks good. We've got some nice detail on the inside of that. Be interested to see what that looks like. We've got decals on the inside of that as well. So that's all very cool. Radio antenna going on for the later versions. I've got a little lamp going on in the tail. Then we've got whatever that is being mounted. I know that's a pit-up tube. Lamps going in. Then the centre of the propeller being built up there. Separate blades, so that could be nice depending on how they've been moulded. Showing that assembled decal positions as well. Then we're building up the spinner, mounting it on, mounting on the drop tank. And then finally on page 44, sorry I didn't tell you how many steps did I, so 270 steps in total. And then we've got pre-cut mask layout, so telling us where to put our masks. Okay, that's really good. Cool, I like that. Right then, let's have a look at the paint instructions. So let's take a look at our paint call out sheets. So we've got 2 sheets there. Let's get them in order. A, B, C, D, and I'm guessing E is there. So on the 3rd sheet, so let's just chuck through those in order. So paint scheme A, Sicily 1943. And what it's saying is, I've not seen this before, but I've not had an Airfix kit before that included masks. So we've got the traditional red rectangle with a number in for our decal number, but we've now got a little blue mask that says mask and cross, and then here it says mask and spiral. I'm not sure it actually needs to tell you what it is. They don't do that with the decals, but yeah, strangely they've got it under some of the paint instructions, but not all of the paint instructions. Feels like they've not quite got this honed down yet. They're not quite nailed down how this is going to work. I think it just needs to say mask. I don't think we need anything under the paint instructions. Yeah, for me, paint instruction, mask, decal, that's simple enough to follow. You know, keep it simple and all that sort of stuff. We've got the paint callouts in the bottom left there. Then we've got some commentary about it here. Paint instructions are nice and clear, easy to see what this should look like. They've covered all angles. Not too many decals. I'm really surprised how few decals there is, but of course all of the stencils are on another sheet, and that's when it'll get really busy. Looks like we're painting the white line, so yeah, I mean that's all clear and good. Paint scheme B, you've got to say that's the brightest of all the paint schemes with the red and the yellow, and we've got some overlay. I don't see that we're using any masks on here, so it's all decals. So this is also Sicily 43, clearly a captured one. The captured yellow 14 depicted in scheme A caught the attention. Oh right, okay, so it's the same aircraft as A, but after it's been captured and reused. Okay, yeah. Then we've got paint scheme C. If you like yellow, that's the way to go. So this is at RAF Colweston, April 1944. Again, no paint masks here, just decals. Quite a straightforward one, even less decals on here. It's telling you to use 115 or 116. I don't know what the differences are really. It's certainly very visible. I don't think it's one for me though, personally. Then D, we've got France August 44, with a sort of more familiar mottled camouflage, late war camouflage type scheme. We're back to masks for the cross and the spiral again. Different spiral this time. Yeah, a few more decals here because you've got the little marking on the tail and what have you. To be captured in Allies. However, period photographs of the previous aircraft in production block while in German service show a large 96 applied. Okay, so yeah, interesting. Some interesting notes, worth a good read. So that's C and D. That leaves us with scheme E. Again, another colourful one. They've dug out some really interesting schemes, I think. Germany, February 44. A much harder paint scheme to paint. I mean, yeah, that's gonna be tricky. Be tricky to do by masking. It'd be tricky to do by airbrush, even at 1/24 scale. Anyone who has a go at that, you know, hats off to you. Not one for me, I don't think. Yeah, nice scheme though, and we are painting the blue. We do have a mask, not on the spinner, just the cross this time. Yeah, nice vibrant colours though. And then we get over to our stencils. So I'll just fold it up so it's easier to see, and we'll get you in a little bit closer, I think. There we go. So plenty of stencils now, lots of decals. So what they've done, line drawing, so it's nice and easy to see. We've got arrows pointing you to the exact location, which is really good. You do one side, you do the top, you do the bottom, you do the other side. We've also got landing gear decals and wheel decals, which is pretty cool. So yeah, all in all, very good. Then, so this is for A, B and E, and then A plus B plus E, and then D. So there's differences just for D. Okay, interesting. There is a lot of decals on the port side of the airframe, a lot more than the starboard side. Interesting. Right, there you go. That is the instructions dealt with. So let's have a look at this is the first time I've ever had my hands on paint masks from Airfix. I think they first came out with the Lysander. I'm not 100% sure, if I'm honest. Now, I have heard rumours that there are some issues with it, and I want to understand that. So what we're going to do, while this is being filmed, I'm going to cut a bit out and put it under test, and we'll see what happens when we get to the back end of the video. So rumour has it that they don't stick very well. We've got some really large areas of masking here that aren't being used. So I'm going to cut a section out, and in a minute we're going to stick it to something in the kit, and we'll see how it goes, because I've never used them before. They are clearly numbered. They are die cut, which is great, so we're not having to worry about cutting on lines and seeing if we get it straight, like some manufacturers do. I mean, they look fine to me. They really do. I don't know. It's quite a shine for paper. It's quite shiny. So I don't know what that is. There's nothing on here to say where they're made. I have heard rumours, but because I don't know for a fact, I'm not going to say. So yeah, I mean, on the surface of it, it all looks great. It's a nice addition. I'm really glad to see paint masks come out, and it's nice that they've been included in the kit at no additional cost. So yeah, I can't say anything other than looks fabulous, but we will test it. Right, now we're going to turn to our decals. So the decals come with this little protective sheet, and like I said at the start of the video, these were inside the front cover of the instruction manual, which I don't know if you'd noticed, but the front and back page had been ripped off in the box, which is a bit odd. I'm sure that must have happened before it went in the box, but nonetheless. And there is some damage that's occurred after it's gone in the box, and we talked about this at the start, but also because the instruction manual is quite thick, what's happened is the decals have folded down. So I've got crease in the corner, you can see there, got a crease in the corner, which, you know, affects 1, 2, 3 decals. I've got a crease in this corner, again, affects 2 decals, might have just missed one, but it definitely goes across the other one. And then I've got these little dents in, and in fact this one, I don't want to use this one, but you know, this cross, if I wanted to use the decal instead of the paint mask, then I can't because it is damaged. You can see that? Now, it's not just a case of when you put it on, it'll be okay, what have you. It's actually scuffed the colour. It's not just a dent. It's hard to see on the camera. But what's actually happened is something's rubbed on it and it's damaged the surface of the decal as well as put a dent in. In the light, it looks like just a little dent, and in that case, you can see it there, in that case it would probably come out when you float the decal onto your model and use some setting fluid. But this has been scuffed, so there's actually a difference in colour. I'm not sure if I can get the camera to pick it up. When I take the close-up photos, you'll see it. I'll make sure I take a photograph so you can see it. So this has been damaged due to poor packing. Poor packing process. It's also damaged this one, and also we've got scuffing on this one as well. You can see the double marks. The lower one has got the colour scuff. Oh, and there's damage on this one. So actually my decals aren't in good condition. If they were, they're actually really, really nice. Cotograph decals, I've said this many times before, as good as you can get. They're really nice. The colour saturation is good. They're very sharp. There's no issues with alignment of the colours. Definition is all great. Yeah, perfect decals, ruined by how they've been packaged. Okay, we're going to do clear parts first. That's because I want to put this bit of masking tape on one of them. The first thing that strikes you is how beautifully crystal clear they are, and that's not uncommon with Airfix clear parts. I personally think they're the best at making clear parts as a general rule. First thing I'm looking for is any distortion. So we're going to get distortion on the curves, that goes without saying, and yes we have. But the straights, yeah, they're all good. You're going to get distortion at this point here, and yeah, you do quite a bit, but yeah, not too bad. So yeah, I have no issues with that. I can't see any spidering at all, so that's really, really nice. And yeah, there is no inclusions. There's everything's nice and crisp. There's flash on the ejector pins here, but it's not actually, oh yes it has, there's a bit of flash, there's a tiny bit of flash just on the corner there, and there, and you can see there's quite a bit of flash on the ejector pin, but otherwise that's okay. I mean, that's something and nothing. That's standard cleanup stuff. Yeah, very, very nice and sharp. I'm doing my best not to touch them. I always check very closely, because I have had an issue with Airfix clear parts in the past with like tiny bubbles in it. I'm gonna have to touch this piece because I need to see if it's dust. Yeah, it is dust. Yeah, so there is some form of residue on some of them. Okay, yeah, there's nothing wrong with those. So I'm going to take some photographs of these, then we'll be back. Right then, what I'm going to do is I've got some usual masking tape that I use all the time, and this is the stuff that I use when I'm making my own paint masks. So I'm going to take a small section of tape, and we're going to tape it over that curve there, and I'm going to fold it down over the part there, like so. Going to do the same with the mask that we've got from Airfix, if I can get the backing off. Obviously, because I've cut a bit of blank off, it's not designed to be separated, so I've not got a die cut to go against. So there we go. Yeah, it's quite low tack. What we're going to do is going to put that bit of tape over there, like so, exactly the same way. Fold that over and fold that over. So whilst I record the rest of the video, we'll leave that on and the tape on, and we'll see if anything moves. So I'm hearing that there is an issue with the mask, Airfix masks not adhering and coming up. So let's test that, shall we? Right, our first sprue out of the box, and it is, I'm looking because recently Airfix have put sprue letters on. There it is, Q. So sprue Q. First thing that I can spot is we've got some slide moulding going on. This also looks a little bit warped, so I'm just going to hold that up. Yeah, you can see there is a little bit of warp there, but it's tiny. And I can tell you now, it's not affecting the parts at all, so everything is okay. So the slide moulding seems to have been to go in. Yeah, you can just see the slide moulding line actually. So the slide moulding line, let me get something to point with. So you always get a fine seam with a slide moulding tool, and on this part here it is running along that line there. So there's a line that runs along there, dips underneath that, and then goes along there again. So that's a slide moulding line, and you can actually feel it as a slight step. So I don't know whether that's actually something that exists on the real thing or not. So, you know, I have to go with it should be there. Usually I would say sand that off, but actually there isn't a step on this side. Step on that one and not on that one. They are different parts, so it might be that it should be there and it's a variation, but it's very strange. I can see the line on this one, I can feel it, but it's not stepped. I think that's actually a slide mould seam and it needs to be removed, which shouldn't be difficult because all the rivet detail is recessed. I mean, the moulding is lovely, the detail is lovely. You've got raised detail, raised rivets as well as recessed rivets. Really, really nicely done. Really nicely done. Then we've got some bulkheads. We've got our dials and things. The detail there. I mean, the moulding is beautiful and crisp. Yeah, some lovely detail in that. Look at that. Very, very nice. Yeah, we've got some nice detail in these parts as well. That's the ammunition chutes. Lots of tiny little parts. They look like binoculars to me. Can't be. They do look a bit like them though. Yeah, pedals there. Really nicely done. Yeah, some lovely, lovely parts. Very nice. Very nice detail. So I'm just taking note of ejector pins. So if you're going to have these open, yeah, you've got ejector pins you're going to have to deal with. They are slightly recessed to quite heavily recessed. So it's a fill and sand job. Yeah. Given the location, that's probably easier than raised. I don't know. 50-50 on that maybe. So yeah, you've got to put them somewhere. You never, when it's in somewhere where you're gonna see, you never want them there. But you know, you've got to get the thing out of the tool, haven't you? In the main though, they've done what they can to make sure it's not on a surface, an outside surface, which is probably the bigger preference. So yeah, no issues with any of that. All good. Okay, our next sprue, and we have more warp. So quite a bit of warp when you look at that. But once again, it seems to be affecting the sprue rather than the parts. But in this corner here, where the warp's really bad, it's almost like it's been pulled away from the tool or something. What's happening is the parts are getting stressed by the twisting of the sprue frame, and in this instance this part has broken off. Now it is in the bag, but that means you've got a risk of parts getting damaged. So yeah, but as far as I can see, there is no warp on any of the parts, but I feel like I might have got away luckily there. The thing that you really don't want warping is the wing, and that's perfect, so that's okay. So let's start with the wing. Surface detail is gorgeous, really, really nice, and you've got lots and lots of detail around there. I think it's all recessed on here, but you've got all the different fastener heads. You do have these little lumps, you can feel them as you go over the finger. Each one of these little round things has got a sort of elliptical lump, so the detail is stunning. That's our brace for the wings. Then we've got our radiators. They're really nicely done. Nice detail on the flaps here. Lovely surface detail. Again, combination of raised and recessed, which is really nice. Yeah, really, really good. Some lovely detail. Let's just flip it over. Right, so on the model you can model these open, and we've got more ejector pin marks. Again, recessed. I mean, it's a totally flat area, so it's nothing to put a little bit of filler in and sand it. I've got a little bit of lumpy moulding there as well. You can see, I don't know if you can see that on the camera, can you see there's sort of like a scrubbing above them? So it's almost like they've tried to tidy the tool up a little bit for some reason. So yeah, it seems to be visible on all the ejector pin marks, but yeah, I don't know what it is. But yeah, so we've got a little bit of filling to do on some of the flaps. Most of this will get covered up though. But yeah, the detail is really gorgeous on all of this. I'm not going to labour on this sprue because it's almost identical. What I will say though is this one is perfectly flat. There's no warp in it at all. The main difference is we've got this underside piece, which is really nicely done. I mean, look at that. It's absolutely beautiful. It's so well done. Very nicely designed. Lots of detail. I mean, it's perfect is what it is. That's the word we're looking for. So yeah, very, very nice. Okay, upper wing surfaces now. This is sprue D, and that's all we've got on this sprue. And they look stunning. They're so eye-catching. You can see all the panels. There's no canning. I don't know whether this aircraft was particularly prone to canning or not. I can see some staining though. So I'm guessing that's release agent, or it could be in the plastic, but I think it's release agent. I've also got some sink. So both of these wings have got sink. We've got sink there, you can just see it in the light, and similar position but not quite the same on this side. We've got sink there, just on this tip bit here. I don't know if I can, there you go. It's tiny and it's on an area that's completely smooth and bespoke of any bespoke, what sort of word's that? There's no detail at all there, so it's an easy fill in sand, so I'm not going to worry about that. Yeah, I mean, the plastic is probably a little bit thicker there. Oh, we've got that piece there, that's why. I'm not quite sure on this side, but I can see, yeah, you're going to have to give these a good wash. There's definitely some release film on there. But the detail, the rivet detail, is absolutely stunning, and when you turn it over, you've got raised detail here. It's going to look absolutely stunning under a wash. It does look really nice. Yeah, that is very, very, very nice. No issues with that. I think other than that little bit of sink, no issues. So yeah, it's just really, it is really nice. I mean, it's how tight the detail is. That's I'm trying to understand what it is that's making this feel like it pops just a little bit more than usual, and I think it is just that. I mean, these fasteners seem to be perfectly round, even though they're on this curved, and you'd expect them to be a little bit elongated and become elliptical, and they've managed to not do that. Yeah, this is really good. Oh, and I should say, this is the part that broke off. You can see it's been stressed, probably by the warping, and it is not damaged, so got away with that one. Sprue C, mainly cockpit parts, although we have got some tail parts. It's clear that not everything's been sort of grouped together, which they sometimes do, Airfix, but not always. Yeah, so we've got another dial section, so one will be early, one will be late, as we saw in the instructions. The inside panels, which have got lovely detail and really nice little strap there, you can see. It's really nice. The hang is natural. It's not straight and chunky like if it was on a Tamiya kit, for example. It's got some really lovely natural form to it. There's another one here, which is nice. And then we've got the same thing with the thing open and the strap just hanging. And that, yeah, that's really lovely, actually. Very, very nice. Yeah, moulding is lovely and crisp throughout. It is really a joy to look at. I have to keep reminding myself I'm on camera and not just stare at it. I don't see any issues with this. We've got no flash. There's no obvious sink. Just going to flip it over. Yeah, all good. All good. Once again, I do have a little bit of warpage in here, so you can see it is not flat, but I don't think it's affecting the parts. I'm a bit concerned about this one, but as far as I can see, it's not warped, and if it is, it's so slight that it'll straighten itself when glued in, so I can't detect that it's warped. I think what's happening is that there's some warpage in the sprue, but the parts are managing to avoid it as far as I can see. But I'm not detecting any issues with the parts, and the parts look stunning. Right, next sprue out, more warp. Bizarre that I'm receiving a kit like that, bizarre. It again has stressed the sprue gates. Fortunately, again, the parts don't seem to have broken or been misformed, but I'm going to remove that because I don't want it to get broken when it goes back in the bag. But yeah, what's happening is because the frame is twisting out of shape, that's putting stress on the sprue gates, and so it's breaking. And of course, the risk is it'll take a bit of the part with it as it flexes, although that doesn't seem to be the case. We do have flash on the sprue, but it doesn't appear to be getting onto any of the parts, which are looking really crisp. Again, tons of detail, lovely wiring detail there, lovely surface detail, raised and recessed fasteners again, and it's very, very nice. Yeah, so we've got thick plastic here, and I don't see any issues with sink. Nope, that's exactly where I'd expect some sink, and we haven't got any. So yeah, another really nice set of parts. Fuselage halves now, and it does give you an impression of the size of this aircraft, and you go 124, it's huge, but I don't know, after I did the 132 Gota, nothing really seems big anymore. But this is, you know, this is lovely. We've got slide molding going on again, and it all looks perfectly fine. The first thing that hits you is all the glorious fastener detail. Really nicely done. You've got different fasteners being used. I know Airfix will absolutely have done their research on this. Once again, you need to look out for this because you're going to miss it if you're not careful. Where there's slide moulding, there's always a slide moulded seam. We talked about it earlier, and we've got it again, and it's running along this line here. So I can just see it. Do not mistake that for a panel line. Firstly, if you run your finger over it, it's raised, not recessed. The panel lines on this, which by the way are beautifully done, they're not oversized, they're not great big gullies, they're not too tight, they're not too shallow, they're not too deep. They are spot on, they're just right. This is raised, and it's raised because it's actually a seam caused by the slide molding tool. People do miss it, and people go, are you sure that's not part of the model? Yeah, I've been doing this long enough to know this is not supposed to be part of the model. You need to gently sand it back, very, very gently. So 800 grit or 1000 grit, something like that, and just buff it back. You might also need to just scribe into those lines a little bit, just to get it out of your panel lines. But yeah, you can see it even gets a little bit more pronounced towards the tail there. So absolutely get rid of that. I mean, the surface detail is lovely. It really is. Little things like this circle here is ever so slightly proud. I can feel it under my finger. When we look inside, there is some detail right in the nose there. When I say some, I mean lots. Look at all the wiring there. Boxes, you've got more wiring in this one. And then in the tail, there's a little bit of detail. You can see there and there. So, yeah, I mean, no sink, no flash, beautiful tight moulding. Yeah, it's a thing of beauty. Actually, there's also some raised rivets. So where the slide moulding is, we've got raised rivets and we've got nice little detail underneath. Yeah, they've done a really good job of this Airfix actually. Okay, sprue P. This is pretty much all drop tank. Again, really nice tight moulding. Yeah, all looks good. There is no pins for this. There is location pins where it's going into the fuselage, but there's no alignment pins on the drop tank, and I love that because that's the sort of thing that A, creates sink, B, causes fit issues, and you end up cutting them off anyway. This is absolutely stunning. It just looks so right. You've got the sprue gates on the inside surface that you're going to sand anyway. So bringing these two halves together will be dead easy. What we've got is a little location strip underneath. So yeah, that's all good, and it hasn't created any sink. Very, 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 very nice. And lovely detail here on the mount, the little separate pins. I mean, previously they would have moulded that all in one, and it would have been okay, but it wouldn't have been amazing. With all this broken down detail, it's so much better. Yeah, this absolutely looks spot on. Very good. Okay, our next sprue is wheels and landing gear. We've got some nice pressed aluminium sheet detail on the inside, looks really good. And we've got these little openings here inside the legs. So the actual gear leg is two halves which you're going to put together, and they've hollowed them, and I do wonder if that is so you can put a little bit of brass rod in to strengthen it, or steel rod or something like that. I might be tempted to at this scale, but certainly looks great. As we saw in the instructions, the hubs are separate except for the tail wheel there. The tail wheel looks nice. Detail on that is fabulous, and we do have sidewall writing on there. It says Continental, very, very clear. I'm not sure if that's the first time we've seen sidewall writing on an Airfix kit. But yeah, very nice, very, very nice. Two halves coming together. We've got location studs in the middle. I don't see that they've caused any issues with sync though. All of these tyres are weighted, so you can't have this wheels down in flight. But yeah, that's just a consideration. It's not a niggle, it's just an observation. That's the word I was looking for. Yeah, nothing wrong with any of these parts. Very beautifully moulded. And some lovely surface detail on the gear covers. So very nice indeed. Sprue N, a much smaller sprue now. We've got the underwing cannons on here, and again slide moulding, which is opening up the ends of the cannons, so that's beautiful to see. They just need a swipe on the end. There's a touch of flash on the end of them, but it's nothing. Some nice material texturing on the end there. That looks great. Lovely surface details of fasteners and bits and pieces on the covers. I mean, it all looks super nice. It's rich in detail. Yeah, very, very nice. Sprue L, and we've got our propeller here. We've got separate blades, which means they're really lovely and thin and beautifully moulded, but we do have sprue gates on the surfaces, so some very careful clean up, because it's sometimes very difficult on the leading edge not to have a little nub, a little lump showing where it was, so you do have to make sure that you're spot on with it so you don't deform the part. It gets quite thick towards the end, but what they've done is they've put this little cutout in, and then you're putting that in and gluing that in. So whether we're going to have to fill and sand that so that it's not visible, I don't know, but by doing that they've not created a part that is going to be prone to sink, so that's all good. That's a nice bit of engineering for me. The spinner in 3 parts, that all looks okay. We've got nice rivet detail on there. It's all crisply moulded, as is the centre bit here. Yeah, sorry, I don't always use the terminology because I don't always know it. Yeah, and the front of the spinner is nice as well. With the hole there, there's a big cannon goes in there, I think, if I'm not mistaken. Our next sprue, we've got all sorts of little hinges and bits and pieces for the flaps on here, stuff like that. They're all quite small parts. The sprue gates seem to be in really good positions for these. Parts where you wouldn't necessarily need to clean it up because it's going to be hidden location points and that sort of stuff. Not on all of them, but certainly on many of them. Yeah, it's all lovely and crisp. There's no flash, there's no sink. Everything looks good on that to me. And some nice tiny little details on some of these parts. So yeah, truly really really nice. I mean, it's perfect again. Our next sprue is J. Again, more tiny parts, many of them for inside the cockpit. We've got some absolutely gorgeous texturing on the filter. I've got to be honest, I don't think you could even do better than that in photo etch. That is really, really nicely done. And you compare that to what they did on the Stalwart, it would have been so much better if they'd done it like that. Just shows you what they can do if they put their mind to it. So yeah, 2 different filters there, both of them stunning. Everything's nice and crisp. Lovely, lovely detail. The belts, they are, I think they're thinner than on the Spitfire. Yeah, they look better than on the Spitfire. Obviously there's a limitation if you're going to mould it in plastic, but I wouldn't bother with aftermarket with those. Now, see, I say that, and immediately I say that, I go, actually, you've got solid loops that should be open, but you know what? You could cut those off and do a little bit of copper wire and make your own. Yeah, well, I think that's what we'll do. There you go. When you see someone do that on their build, because there'll be lots of people rushing to build this now, and you see someone make those out of a little bit of wire, you know where they got the idea from. I said it first. Nicely depicted chain, really lovely detail. And the lap belts, again, it all looks nice and natural. It's not uniform in any way. It does look really natural, so I do love that. Yeah, the little loop, it's beautiful and delicate. Some careful cleanup on that. I don't see any moulding issues, and there's not much in the way of seam. I haven't mentioned seam, and that's because it's not really come to mind, because I've not really seen any. There is not much in the way of seam. There must be, but there is not much out there. That control stick is stunning. The little hand grip is really well done. Yeah, I'm impressed. Okay, engine parts and a load of slide moulding going on here. We'll talk about that in a minute. I see that one of mine got folded back. Right, so engine block. That looks gorgeous. Some nice big mechanical looking detail on there. And then we've got lots of fasteners. That casting looks good. As does, oh yeah, this is looking nice. Piping, it all looks natural. You've got the clips on it, the Jubilee clips and what have you. Framework looks good. Yeah, really, really nice. Impressed with that. A little bit of seam on these thin parts. You're always going to get that. But it looks totally, totally good. Again, not much in the way of location pins, which I'm glad to see. We do have them on the big engine block, but it's not caused any issues. And then we've got slide moulding here. I do have some flash on some of these parts, and I do have sync on one of them. Don't know if we can pick that one up on camera, just there. Got sync on one of them. Oh, and a bit more sync on the other sides there. Yeah, I can see the aftermarket are going to tackle this in 3D printed resin. And what they've done is they've put the sprue gate on the exhaust opening, which is really, really, really clever. Because it's it's a flat surface, so you can cut this off and just slice it. Now I just want to check. I've got a couple that seem to be solid. I don't know if that's right or whether, yeah, see that one was bent up, so I'm wondering if it missed having a hole in it or whether it's supposed to be solid. I'm not sure. They're not different numbers, so I think we might have a little bit of a forming problem there. The hole must be important, or they wouldn't have gone to all the trouble. Slide moulding's not cheap, so they wouldn't have gone to the trouble of slide moulding it if you didn't need it. So I'm wondering why I've got two that don't. It might be right. I didn't notice in the instructions. I perhaps have a look before we sum up. But yeah, what you can do with these, I'm going to show you how to deal with it, because I know some people have been talking about it. I've seen a bit of chat about it. So this is going to be really easy to sort. So let me zoom you in and show you how to handle these. So what we're going to do is we're going to cut off the sprue like so. Who else does this in a kit review? Right, let's get you in focus. There we go. So we're then going to cut flush, not with these Zukimura nippers, we won't, because they're not good enough to do it. But with a decent pair of single bladed nippers, I can go in and cut that flush, and then I'm just going to go in. This is a 600 grit. There we go. And then polish that up. Perfect. Absolutely brilliant solution. I think that's spot on that. So I just need to tape that back onto my sprue so I don't lose it. But yeah, that's a really clever idea. Exhausts are always a little bit tricky, so yeah, coming up with a solution like that I think is really good. So I'm quite impressed with that. Right then, our last sprue, it's sprue H. Lots of pipe work, ducting work, cable runs, all of that sort of stuff, and it is all very, very nice. You've got lovely clips and fine detail on there. Yeah, it really is good. It all looks really natural as well. I do have some stress on some of these thin parts. You can see this one's broken away from the sprue gate there. Again, this is the weight of everything being pushed down in the box. But we seem to have luckily survived it. That's the most risky part there, because it sits quite proud and there's nothing protecting it, and it's really delicate. So yeah, but yeah, I mean, it's all just stunning. Really, really nicely done. Cable runs around that are gorgeous. Yeah. Yeah, I don't see any moulding issues with that. I mean, I'm struggling even to see seam. I can't even feel it. It is very nicely done. There's seam on there I can see. Yeah, loads of detail, oodles of it. So there we have it, the Airfix 1:24 scale measure spit BF109 G5 or G6. What is my first impressions? Well, we have a lot to unbox, if you excuse the pun, quite literally. So let's just run through this as I normally do. And we'll start with packaging. And this is actually the low point, if I can use that term, of the kit. So the biggest issue I have with the packaging, and I'm going to show it to you now, is that actually the box is too small for the contents. They need to have a bigger box, because what I have done as I'm repacking this, I am cutting all the excess plastic off the bags and taping them down and putting them back in. And you can see, without pressing this down, it is actually, this here is proud of the top of the box. And I haven't put the clear parts in yet, and I haven't put the instructions and bits and pieces like that in yet. So what's happening is they're loading everything, I suspect, into the box, turning the box upside down, pushing it flat, taping it down. And when they do that, they're compressing all of this, and that's doing loads of damage to this. So it's stressing the parts. I'm going to stop doing it because I'm going to break my own parts. It's stressing the parts. We've seen that. We've seen that some of the parts are stressed on the sprue gates. Some of my parts are broken away from their sprue gates. Some of that's due to the warpage. We'll talk about that in a minute. Some of that is due to there being too much pressed on. But the main thing is they've done damage to the decals, as I showed you. And that's because what they did was they put the decals in the bottom of the box on the inside of this manual, like so. And what's happened is the parts have pressed down. I can actually feel the dimples on the top of the manual, so I know this has happened. The parts have pressed down and they've dented the decal sheet. But because the decal sheet's way too big and it's at the top of quite a thick manual, then we've got these folds and crease where everything's pressing down on it. So I'm going to be putting mine in the top of the box. If you've got this kit or you're waiting for it to be delivered, I urge you to take this out of the bottom, put it back in at the top. I mean, it's better protected like that. If they'd done it that way round, you wouldn't have got that impact damage. Although I still suggest that this box is too small for the contents, especially with the huge amount of spare plastic that I've cut out. It's really putting pressure on all these parts, and we're going to have more kits with breakages, which means more people ringing up to customer service, which means more people with an experience of Airfix, which is less than perfect, and your reputation is only as good as the last bad thing that happened. That's a fact. So, packaging could absolutely be better. Then we get to instructions, and I've said many times that Airfix instructions are amongst the best, if not the best. They are functional, they are detailed, they get you where you need to be. You very rarely need to rework Airfix instructions and change the flow because it doesn't make sense. Airfix have upped the game. We've got those colour CAD drawings of the engine detail with named parts. It's very much like a Zukimura offering in that way, and I've got to say I really liked it. These instructions are massively detailed. The paint instructions are good, and then the decaling and masking instructions were good. All very clear, no problems with it. Perfect instructions, as good if not the best that you can get. Then we come to paint masks, and it's now been 2 hours since I put a paint mask on this, and it's not budged. So I know there is rumours that the paint masks aren't so good. All I can say is, you know, it doesn't take me 2 hours to paint a canopy. This hasn't moved. It's not showing any signs of moving. And if I hold it, I can actually lift the whole part, the whole sprue, with that bit of tape, and the tape is not peeling off. So for me, there is no issue with the masks. The masks are die cut, they look great. My only little niggle is that it's outside masking only, and we've got detail on the inside, so it'd be nice to have an inside masking set. I think I'm right in saying there is going to be one, or already is one possibly, available from Airfix to do just that. And yeah, I'm definitely going to look at that if it comes out. So masks for me, the fact that we've got masks in the kit, massive thumbs up. Thank you very much, Airfix. Been asking for it for a long time, and clearly they are listening to us. Okay, then we've got the decals. So putting aside what we've just said about the decals being damaged, and that's a real shame, but the decals themselves are really nice. They're nicely done, beautiful in colour, beautiful in register. There is no swastika. That's a problem for me. Historically, it has a swastika. I know the kit can't be sold in certain markets if it's got a swastika. No one's asking you to put a swastika on the box art. But everybody else, all of Airfix competitors, are putting swastikas on the decals. The way they get around it is by doing it in multiple parts, 2 or 4 parts across, and then you put the ends on. Different people have different ways of doing it. It can be easily done. You're not getting around the law. It's all very legal. Everybody else is doing it. Airfix, get with the program. Give us our swastikas, because it's a real pain that we have to go outside of this box to go and get them. So yeah, I don't like the fact that we don't have swastikas. It's just nonsense that just needs sorting. Do it. Swastikas, please, in future. But otherwise, the decals are perfect. They're you know, they're cartograph. They're as good as you're gonna get. No issues. Then we get to the plastic parts themselves, and that's when this kit absolutely comes to life. They are absolutely stunning. Really beautiful. Twice whilst going through the sprues, I used the words perfect. And that is my summary of the plastic parts. They are perfect. I had a little bit of sink in, 4 parts in total. There's tiny bits of flash, but guess what? I've got a Zukimura 109 up there, which I considered the best 109 I've ever had. And that's got sink in several parts, and that's got flash as well. So actually, this Airfix kit is better than that. In fact, I think this is the best 109 that's ever been made. That's what I think. I mean, obviously, I have not had every 109 kit on my bench, so I can't categorically say there isn't a better one. I just don't know of a better one. This is a truly beautiful kit. I think it has more finesse than the Spitfire. So things like the seatbelt harnesses, thinner, better, look a little bit more natural. There's just edging past the Spitfire, which is a beautiful, stunning kit, but lots of people are thinning the plastic harnesses on the Spitfire. You don't need to on this. It's as good as it needs to be. So I think this is probably Airfix's best kit release ever as well. wow, which is saying something because, you know, there is some real strong contenders for that, like the Jaguar that they came out with this year. So actually 2025 would have been Airfix's best year ever if they'd not released the Stalwart. That's interesting, isn't it? That's for another video. This kit, however, is absolutely beautiful, and other than a little bit of a faux pas with the box being just a bit too small, it just needs to be deeper by that much so that everything's not being compressed and pressed in, and it would be perfect. This kit is an absolute winner. They are going to get lots of iterations out of it. You're going to see, probably going to see 2 or 3 different iterations over the next 24 months, I would imagine, because it is truly, truly stunning kit. I ummed and ahed about buying this kit, and I'm so glad that I did, because it's absolutely worth every penny. It's about £100 at this moment. Black Friday deals and stuff as I record this, in the closing days of November 2025, you're seeing it for around about 88. So yeah, and then if you buy it direct from Airfix, you can get your hobby points, you can get and you can get your club discount if you're a member, so you can reduce that cost a little bit. This is about right. £100, it's about right. I think this is stunning, and I think the engine is particularly well detailed. The cockpit is going to look really nice, and yeah. The only other thing I'd say is there is no rigging instructions, and that's a little bit of a pity. There is a little bit of rigging. You can probably work it out from the box art, but there's no mention of it in the instructions. That's a little bit of a pity, but you know, it's minor stuff. The major stuff, the things that matter, the plastic, it's as good as you're gonna get. It's as good, you know, it's Kotari, whatever they're called. This is better. I reviewed one of their kits recently. The quality of the moulding in this is better. I can say that, no qualms. I'm confident in my belief that this is a better product. And it's a bigger scale. And guess what? It's got a full engine, unlike theirs. So I can't think of a 109 that's better than this. I truly can't. So congratulations to Airfix. That's an absolutely beautiful kit. Now, yeah, lovely. Well, there you go. That's my thoughts on it. If you were interested in this, if you're umming and ahhing about this, if like me, you hadn't pre-ordered it because you wanted to get a feel for what it was like first, after the Stalwart, I completely understand that. I was there myself. What I'd say is, absolutely, if you like 109s and you've got the space for a big one, this is the one to get. Order it. As soon as you get it, check it. Make sure that some of that warping that I'm seeing isn't affecting any of your parts. If it is, get in touch with customer service. Don't go, oh, I'll just fix it, because if Airfix don't get an understanding of how big the problem is, they can't put steps in to sort it in the future. So help them by putting in the complaint and getting replacement parts. When you're paying £100, you expect perfect. This isn't quite perfect because of the silly damage, just careless thoughtlessness in the packaging process. But in every other way, this is one of the most perfect kits I have ever reviewed, and yeah, I'm gonna have to build it now. So there you have it, a truly lovely kit, and yeah, I wasn't expecting to be as impressed with it as I am. So there you go, you now know what's in the box. I hope you enjoyed that as much as I did. Until the next time I see you, you enjoy your modelling. Bye for now.